Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. This is a bunch of Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are listening to The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. Time to join the conversation.
Oh, now, you see, as always, folks, it is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, so there, of course, is a technical glitcheroonie. So, hey, everybody. I was
wondering when it was going to happen.
Yeah, you know, you hit the wrong gosh darn button and chaos breaks out. Dogs and cats living together. There's the Stay Puft Marshmallow guy running past, you know.
How about those technical infringements?
Yes, that's right. There is no Dana. There is only Zool. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. This is the Right of the People. Glad that you, as always, I am glad and humbled and amazed that you've chosen to spend some time listening to me gabble on tonight. We got Stealth Hunter 1000 and Seven Wonders out there. They were pretty easy. Not easy, I'm sorry. Pretty early. Well, maybe they're easy too. I don't know. Psycho 316's out there. Patriot in the Dark. Glad you could make it, sir. Let's see who else. They've been going back and forth. The Tactical Pickle is out there. Calaveras 32 Special. Glad to see you, sir. Grim 90. And let's see who else. Tear Talk. How you doing, Ganji? Squib. Well, you're out there, but you're in here too. So let's just say hi to you guys here on the panel. We got the Kingpin himself, David Bowling. How you doing, sir?
Doing mighty well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Night Strike. How are you?
I may need some help acquiring a regular stock and a pistol grip.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about that.
And besides that, shout out be infringed.
Absolutely right.
But I'm infringed.
Calaveras 32 Special out there says, I think we're all a bit easy if we're here with this crew. Yeah, I can't argue with that. Squib, how you doing, sir?
Did you notice the entire panel is all in the Eastern time zone?
Yeah, what is this?
Time zone.
Well, I mean, it is the only time zone that matters.
Okay, there we go.
Oh.
So all you centralists.
Shade. Georgia Trucker 69, how you doing, sir? Thermo Redneck, how are you? Amber Hayes Brandon, how you doing? Ryan asked, is the Florida assault weapons ban the constitutional amendment deal for 2020, or is this something different through legislation? Yeah, we're talking about the constitutional amendment deal.
The Florida Constitution.
Yeah, and for the Florida Constitution. That's what we're going to be talking about. But first, speaking of bans, actually, let me double check and make sure there's nobody I'm missing over there on the Gun Channel side, because we are simulcast over on Gun Channels. It is the Water Cooler, the Second Amendment online community. If you are not a member, go over there and join. It is absolutely free to do, and you will always find someone to talk with and something to talk about that is Second Amendment related over there. Looks like we got Gizzard Gary and Mr. White over there. Looks like Giz is dropping in over here too. So all right. First thing we're going to talk about, the tremendously huge, horrible, infringing garbage that's fixing to hit all of us. Report. This is from I think this is a Breitbart article. Says November 29th, 2018, President Trump signing bump stock ban. Citizens have 90 days to turn them in. President Donald Trump is expected to announce that he will be signing a ban on bump stocks that gives Americans 90 days to hand them over or otherwise dispose of them. Bump stocks were used during the October 1st, 2017 Las Vegas attack. That attack marked the first the first time that bump stocks were known to have been used in a crime. There's some debate about that. The ATF circulated language to ban bump stocks at Trump's direction in December of 2017. The public was allowed to comment, and gun control outlet The Trace reported that 85% of those who commented opposed the ban. CNN reports that Trump is now preparing to sign the ban, and it will outlaw the firearm accessories without a grandfathering option. CNN quotes a source that indicates members of the public will be given 90 days to turn in or otherwise discard their bump stocks. ATF Acting Director Thomas Brandon told the U.S. Senate that he anticipates a legal challenge against the ban and acknowledged that the challenge could slow the ban's implementation. So, if I don't quit knocking my doggone microphone off, it's a boom.
I don't know. I feel like throwing my microphone out a window right now.
Well, there's a difference. Yours is out of frustration and anger. Mine's just out of simply being clumsy.
Hey, I'm allowed to be angry, okay? As long as I don't do anything other than sit in my chair and stew, I'm allowed to be angry.
Sure. You should be angry. We all should be angry. I don't even own a bump stock, and I'm angry about this. This is a complete, total, and utter infringement on our rights without any due process at all. It's via regulation and not legislation like it should be.
But I'm sure Squib's response, well, if you want to buy a bump stock, just buy one that's pre-registered, and if you don't have the money for it, just make the money for it. I'm sure that's going to be Squib's response because apparently he doesn't care.
My response is that you have done more to convince me that I'm fine with the ban than you have to convince me otherwise, man.
So, well, if you want, it's fine. It's fine. If you want them to keep taking away and taking away and taking away and not giving anything back, then fine, be that way. I don't care. I don't want to deal with it. What I want to deal with is when the hell do we stop giving shit up and actually keep what we have? When are we going to do that? Who's going to be the first person to stand up and say no? You're out of your fucking minds. No. Am I the only person going up and saying this? Or, is everybody too timid? Their balls have been cut off either by their wives or from somebody else. They won't stand up and say no. The NRA doesn't do shit. The GOA, well, they're doing what they can, but they're not doing anything. The Second Amendment Foundation doesn't care. Who's going to stand up?
Why do you say the SAF doesn't care?
I haven't heard anything from them about this, and I'm subscribed.
I would suspect that the SAF would be waiting for a actual ban to come into effect to see what legal challenge could be they could hit it with. They're going to keep their mouths shut and play their cards close to the vest so as to not give somebody any insight into their strategy. That's at least that is the tack they've taken with a lot of things.
I mean, I am yelling at the top of my lungs on every show whenever we talk about this because that's all I can do at the moment. I don't have enough money to go up to Capitol Hill, go up and put a sign out there saying, don't infringe on my rights anymore. I can't do that right now. It's not possible. I would love to be able to go and do that, but I can't. I'd be the only person there. I'd probably be chased off as some Yahoo.
Well, you may not have the money to go. However, you can do what I'm doing, send tweets, Instagram, Facebook, spread the word however you can, send emails, telephone calls, et cetera, et cetera. Don't be silent, which I'm sure you're absolutely not, but other people need to join you in the outrage.
But I'm the only one who's outraged, so what's it matter?
I don't think so. I'm not really happy about this myself. As I said, I don't own one, but I understand that, it's an infringement, and infringement is an infringement no matter whether I own the particular item or not. That to say that, well, bump stocks don't matter to me because I don't own them. Well, that's like a FUD saying the AR-15 doesn't matter because I have my hunting rifle, or my granddaddy's double barrel. It's
the minute they go after pump shotguns, they go after bolt action rifles and semi-automatic pistols is when somebody might actually stand up and do something.
Yeah.
I
Well,
wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, again, I don't know. As gun owners, we may be so timid, so not wanting to rock the boat. We may just let this happen, let even more happen until we have nothing but black powder rifles. And then they say, oh, you don't need black powder rifles anymore. And they take that away. And you got the full repeal of the Second Amendment.
Let me ask you something, Night Strike. And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to be a jerk about this or anything, because
I'll calm down and shut up.
I'm with you. But let me ask you, are you willing to go to federal prison over it? Because a lot of people aren't. No one wants to be that test case. That's the thing. Who wants to be the test case that maybe or maybe not will end up winning in court and getting their life back? Who wants to risk spending 10, 15, 20 years in federal prison and absolutely ruining their life over a freaking bump stock?
Well,
no one with kids to take care of, at least.
That's the thing I was concerned about last night. I was listening to somebody's show, and they were talking about the bump stocks and the bans and all that and the red flag laws, and it was just like they were talking just like casual about it, which I was kind of surprised at. And they were talking about no cop is going to go and confiscate these weapons. Yeah, they are. They did it. They do it. Maryland's a perfect example already. The cops will follow the rules, and they will come and confiscate Night Strike's bump stock. They will come and confiscate your guns. And then the people were talking about, well, yeah, but what are they going to do when you got to
confiscate? But if you ever have contact with them and they happen to find the bump stock, or if you're ever foolishly out shooting the damn thing and they happen to come because someone called, then you're absolutely catching the felony for it. I don't know that they're actually going to go door to door looking for them.
Well, even that's how the conversation was going about the going door to door, and they were also talking about red flags, which is what they do. They come to your door.
Well,
and the conversation went toward
red flag, that's different, yeah.
The conversation went toward, are the cops going to stand there with a fully armed guy, defending his house? And then I'm thinking, well, what law-abiding citizen's going to shoot a cop?
Yeah.
I don't want my guns confiscated. I don't want a red flag law written against me. But if the cops show up at my house, I'm not shooting at the police.
No,
unless I have to defend my life. I'm not gonna kill a cop.
Exactly. I'm going to give it up and fight it out in court. But who wants to do that? Again, it's just the same as who wants to. All right, damn you! I'm not going to comply. Come and take my bump stock. Well, they come and take it. Then what? Are you going to fight it out with the cops? No, you're going to go to jail. Who wants to be that test case and risk going to federal prison for 20, 25 years?
And any sympathy that you're going to garner for having your rights infringed and your property taken gone out the window by the vast majority of the American public when you kill a cop.
Yeah, well,
or even shoot a cop.
In that circumstance, if you're wanting to be the test case, you absolutely must do so non-violently.
I never said to shoot a cop. You guys added that in. I never said.
No. I didn't say. I was talking about the show I was watching last night. No, absolutely. I want to let everybody know Night Strike didn't say that, and I'm not accusing him of saying that. Not whatsoever. It was just something I heard on a different show. So I apologize, Night Strike. I didn't mean to make you think I was saying you said that. So make it very clear, I was not saying that. I apologize.
All I said was, at one point we draw a line in the sand and say, no more. Stop.
Okay, Night Strike, look at what they're doing. They're doing divide and conquer. And they're probably going to win that way. And if they can't get it done on a federal level, they're doing it state by state by state. And what happens? A state passes it, and all the adjoining states go, ooh, we got to pass it too. Before you know it, every state passes it. And they're also doing stuff like they're saying, we need to take care of these bump stocks. And most people are going, what's a bump stock? And don't care, except you. Right? And like you're saying, until they go after the pump action shotguns that everybody's got, nobody's really going to care, and by then it's too late. We've been saying that for decades. Okay? But that's what they're doing, and they're winning. Our side is complacent, but yelling and criticizing everybody else in the community every single time they want to take away your toy doesn't help our case. Both on our side, as people that you want to stand next to you, and on the other side is people who don't understand anything about guns.
Yeah.
And this is coming from me with my mouth, right? So take it for what it's worth.
Guitar Man Pete says that he thinks we need to start having some civil disobedience, non-criminal, but put it to the edge, and then we all double down with the same. And I agree with you in principle. I really do. However, the problem is in this instance, they've made civil disobedience, i.e. not turning in your bump stocks, a felony. Civil disobedience. I'm not playing that game with a felony. Felony is life ruining. If it were a misdemeanor, I'd buy one today and walk around open carrying the damn thing.
So here's the thing:
if it were a misdemeanor as a piece of civil disobedience, as a felony, no.
If they ban something and they don't grandfather it, aren't they supposed to properly compensate you for it?
Yeah,
right?
But they're not going
apparently not.
So this is
this is technically legislative theft, is what it is.
Right, and I have a bigger problem.
Theft. It's regulatory theft.
I have a bigger problem with them not compensating people than I do passing this order, and it's not because I want to see these things gone. It's a stupid toy, is what it is.
It's a Fourth Amendment violation. Yeah. Due process.
I don't want to see any. I want to see it go the opposite way. I want them to let us carry anything we want anywhere at any time and have the burden of proof always be on the state to say we weren't defending ourselves. We weren't the law-abiding citizen trying to protect our family, ourselves, the person next to us, especially when the person who starts the fight has a criminal record and we don't. That's what I want. That is the simplest thing I can think of that will make our society safer and not infringe on anybody's rights except the bad guys. But that's never going to happen. That's just never going to happen. So all I see is them taking it apart forever, and we're going to pick ourselves apart. And we're just going to keep pointing fingers and doing stuff, and we need to get together, and every now and then we do. Every now and then we get together. But it just our side is complacent, and I don't know why. Maybe we're not full of, soy and liberal ideas.
Nah.
Yeah, this is a difficult situation, that people that own bump stocks are going to be facing. Do you stand up for your liberty, not comply, bury your bump stocks, or just keep them wherever you have them now? I mean,
well, that doesn't even matter. Think of it like this. Let's say you've got a bump stock. You've had a bump stock for however many years they've been out, right? All of your friends that shoot know you have it.
Yep.
The people at your gun club know you have it. Your family, the people who live in your house know you have it. And one day you say you threw it away. Wherever the heck you hid it, you better hope nobody saw you hide it. And you better not tell a soul till the day you die. Because as soon as you go, don't worry, I said I threw it away, but really I did this. And that person has a beef with you one day, and you could say, but it's my son, it's my daughter, it's my wife. Oh, believe me, family's the first one to turn on you. They're going to be calling, and like David's talking about with the red flag laws, if it ain't already in your state, when it gets there, suddenly it's going to be like, not only does he have it, but he's been hiding it in this spot for 10 years. And they go find it, guess who's going to federal prison?
Exactly.
So the fact that we've all been on YouTube saying what we have, and then they go ahead and ban that, even if there's no easy registration for the item. I mean, if somebody wanted to do enough research on any one of us long enough, they could probably figure out most of the guns that we own or have owned. We might, and we could say we sold them, we did this, we did that, but then you run into more problems. Yeah. So, I mean, the real thing is we do need to dig in our heels and stop, but it's just not happening. And on a state-by-state level, they're making a lot more ground than they are on a federal level, and it's sad.
Well, that whole thing right there is why I don't own a submachine gun. I have the parts, with a little bit of welding and a barrel, buy a barrel and a little bit of welding, I could put one together. But I don't, because I have no desire to see the inside of a prison from the other side of the bars. It sucks enough being a CO. I sure as shit wouldn't want to be an inmate, particularly since I'm so pretty.
Yeah, well, just do what Squib says. Just make the $50,000 to buy one.
No, thank you.
It's called the job, Night Strike.
Guitar Man Pete says, "Forgive me, y'all, but I, for one, am sick of us bitching in these chats and never doing anything." Well, as I said, do what you can now. Call, write. There's a reason I end every episode of this chat with contact your legislatures and your elected representatives and Congress critters, so that they always know what you feel. I put that advice into practice all the time. If there's something I'm angry about, something that I don't want them to do, I call, I write, I email, I let them know. And that's what we have to do. Right now at this stage, that's all we can do. Short of armed rebellion, and we're nowhere near that point yet. And then when they do something stupid anyway, we fight it in court. Why do you think I'm constantly pushing to support the Second Amendment Foundation? Because they actually get their ass up and fight these unconstitutional infringements in court, and they win. A lot of times they win. That's why I became a life member of the Second Amendment Foundation. That's why I keep saying that we have to
I just wish they'd be less quiet.
What's that?
I said I just wish they would say more and let people know that they're doing stuff instead of being so tight-lipped about what they're doing.
But I'd like to counter that remark, though.
Hey, Night Strike, do you listen to Armed American Radio?
On and off, not all the time.
Alan Gottlieb's on there every Sunday telling us what the SAF is doing. Just FYI.
Okay.
I'd like to counter that remark about people not doing stuff. Okay, yeah, I just said that our side is complacent, and we are. It's funny. We'll vote in the presidential, but we won't vote in the midterms, or we'll do this and we'll do that. But there are some of us out there that are doing stuff, and the people on this panel are doing stuff. We're getting on air, and we're bringing stuff out for people to see, voicing our opinion, trying to come up with ideas, even arguing with each other, which is sometimes better than arguing with the other side. But I'll give you a great example. Budget, where did you and I meet face-to-face?
We met face-to-face at the Rally for Our Rights back in March at the State House steps in Columbus, Ohio.
And what state do I live in?
Michigan.
Uh-huh. I drove 4 hours to come support my friends in the neighboring state. And I'm not saying I deserve a ribbon or a little gold star by my name or anything. I wanted to come down there. I had no idea you were there. I wasn't coming, down there to meet you or to see Hickok or any of that. I was coming down there to support my friends that are not that far away. There are lots of us. I mean, okay, the people live in California and Texas and Alaska and Hawaii. Okay, you guys have a long way to travel to get to another state. But other than that, though, a lot of us have adjoining states that we know people in, that we can get to the capital. So go to the rally in your state and go to the rally in your neighboring state. Join one of these organizations. Join 3 or 4 of them. Some people say, don't be in the NRA, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you know what? I'm in the NRA. I've been in the NRA off and on for about, 20-some odd years, all right? I don't care if you hate them or whatever. I'm in them, and I'm in a few of the other organizations, and I've been in those off and on. There might be somebody who says, I'm not able to go to a rally and stand there all day because I've got a medical condition, but I'll send a bigger donation to the ILA or something like that. Or I'll send some money to the 2AF or to the, Michigan Coalition for Responsible Gun Owners or Ohio Carry or whatever the group is in your state. So some people do it monetarily. Some people are actually working in these organizations in these states. Or some people do what we've been saying for a long time as well. They get somebody who's never handled a gun before, knows nothing about them, and is scared crapless out to the range and shows them what these things really are and starts explaining things and get somebody to open their mind and make a decision for themselves. So there are people here doing things. But if you
feel that you need to do more, find your local and or state level gun rights organizations and volunteer.
Yeah.
Contact them, ask what can I do to help, and you can guarantee they'll give you something.
There's all kinds of different ways that you can help, whether it be showing up to a rally, representing our community when you're dealing with somebody who, and this is a hard thing for me to do, this is a weakness for me, dealing with anti-gunners. I don't do so well with that. So sometimes I step away because I don't want to do more harm than good.
Yeah, I can't imagine that, right?
Yeah, tell me about it, right? But I mean, there's all kinds of things that, and the thing is, though, it goes right back to some of that complacency. It's like Trump got elected and everybody, but then we had people on our side going, no, you've got to run out buying more guns than ever because otherwise they're going to go out of business. It's like, oh, dude, we've been fighting and fighting and fighting. We're all tired. The thing is, some people get tired and go sit on the couch, and then they get up 20 minutes later and they go back to it. Other people get tired and sit on the couch, and 3 days later they're still on the couch.
Yeah, so, that's the problem.
Yeah. But I mean, there are all kinds of ways that everybody can contribute, and we just need to keep trying. Some days, I think it's a losing battle. I could see the end of this decades and decades down the road, but it doesn't mean I'm going to quit.
Well, I think that the end of this is going to come with our victory in the courts. That's I've been saying that. That's why I believe that the election of Donald Trump was historic because of the effect it's going to have on the Supreme Court for generations, and the effect it's going to have on the federal judiciary for generations. Things like this ballot measure that's being proposed in Florida, which we're about to talk about, things like the ballot measure that was passed in Washington, I think that those are going to fail in court challenges if after they're passed and implemented, and because the problem with some of these things is you have to have somebody take one for the team and get in trouble for it so that someone has standing so that the lawsuit can be brought before the court. And that's the sad truth of it. And as I've asked already tonight, who wants to be the test case? Not me. But speaking of bad choices, there is a ballot measure on assault weapons proposed in Florida. This is from the news from Fox 35. A Miami-based political committee has proposed a constitutional amendment that would ban possession of assault weapons in Florida if approved by voters. The proposal, backed by the committee Ban Assault Weapons Now, was posted in the State Division of Elections website this month. The committee had raised nearly $410,000 since March, while spending almost $284,000, according to finance information. The expenditures included $75,000 last month to a California-based company for what was described in the finance information as petitions. Ban Assault Weapons Now would have to submit hundreds of thousands of valid petition signatures to the state to get the measure on the 2020 ballot. The political committee had to submit at least 766,200 signatures to get measures on the 2018 ballot, and the petition threshold likely will increase for the 2020 election. The proposal would define assault weapons in part as being, quote, semi-automatic rifles and shotguns capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition at once, unquote. While it would ban possession of the weapons, it would include exemptions for military or law enforcement uses. Also, it would include an exemption for people who had the weapons before the ban went into effect, but would add a registration requirement. Okay, this is 2020. It's a couple of years away. It's in Florida, and I don't live in Florida. Why do I care? Well, pay attention to what's been happening. They did this screwy ballot measure in Washington, and it passed due to the influx of billionaire dollars from all over. And they saw that it worked. They were able to get it to go. So now they're targeting Florida. And if you don't think that Bloomberg's doesn't have his little grubby fingers in this pie, you're absolutely nuts. Of course he does. Where do you think all the funding for all this stuff's coming from? It's from this group of billionaires who hates your guns, hates the fact that you have them, hates the fact that you have the means to resist becoming their serfs. So, okay, this is Florida. Why do I care about Florida? Well, there are a lot of other states that allow ballot initiatives. Let me go ahead and read you the list. Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Idaho, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Dakota, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. And if you don't think that if this passes in Florida, that it won't be coming to a state near you, if you're one of those states I mentioned, you had better pay attention to what's going on in your ballots and how you can resist it, because you can guarantee it's coming at you. They will try this. They have had success with this tactic, and especially if it succeeds in Florida, they're just going to keep rolling with it, because why not? It works.
But if you look at the language, they gave it this broad but specific too. Semi-automatic, long gun, capable of holding 10 rounds or more. Now, you could argue that 10 rounds or more, right? You could say, I've got an AR with a 5-round mag. Yeah, but you can insert a blah, blah. So that would be the hard part. That'd be the one they'd argue over, right? But otherwise, though, they put in there grandfathering in. When you do something like that in one of these laws, it's more likely to get passed. But when you start doing stuff like, nope, you got to turn in everything, and there's no grandfathering, and then they have 30 different definitions of what the thing is, that's what destroys these laws. They've been thinking about this. They've been trying to make it. They've been trying to make it where it's passable.
Yep. And because they know that once they get something in, they can always come back later and change it.
Or add on to it.
Again, it's their strategy of incrementalism that they've been using since the first gun control laws were ever passed.
That's why I always say, watch your state laws. Federal laws, whether you like them or not, whether they're good or whether they're bad, depending on your opinion, are very difficult to get made, get changed, and get repealed. Your state laws are really easy to change and really easy to get new ones. And
the gun grabbers have figured that out now.
And I say it every show I get on and every chance I get. If you want to see what not to do, watch Maryland. The 7115, all the stuff that everybody in there is afraid of, you'll see bit by bit pass in Maryland with no problem. Not to mention the fact that we've got a Republican governor. And Florida, no, the Republicans, we got the Senate, we got Republicans. Florida's Republican governor will sign this assault weapons ban. I guarantee it.
Yeah, well, I don't know how it works with the constitutional amendment ballot initiative, if he even has to. I honestly don't know. That's something that I would have to look into.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah,
because it's not like this is a legislative thing. The good news is, though, at least in Florida, they have to have 60% supermajority in order to pass any constitutional amendment ballot initiative. So that's a good thing. I just don't know, because they're going to be banging the Parkland drum every single day between now and then to promote this amendment.
So let's say this goes through, and let's say they get what they want. There'll be another Parkland in Florida. And then they'll go, we don't understand. It didn't work. Well, I guess we're just going to have to do more. And that's how they get in more legislation. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough.
Yeah. It just hasn't been working, and it didn't work because we haven't done enough. Chicago's gun laws don't work because, there's the rest of Illinois that are able to have guns, and they can get them from Indiana. So it doesn't work. California's gun laws, they're not working because they can go over to Nevada and get guns.
Hold up on there, Hondo. I know someone in Indiana who works in a gun store, and he does not sell guns to people out of state.
So you're just crazy.
They're not getting their guns legally from Indiana.
That's probably a company policy, but where they're getting them from? They're getting them from Tennessee. Remember, they stole those pallets.
They steal pallets, a truckload of guns.
Yeah.
They steal a truckload of guns and go to Chicago.
They get them out of boxcars because they're breaking into the train yards in Chicago.
Once again, I'll come in and represent Maryland wonderfully. There has been more than one occasion where I've been out of state at a gun show or at a gun store, and everything went fine until they said, "Where do you live?" And I showed them my Maryland driver's license, and they showed me the door.
Yep.
And nobody was rude about it. Nobody was like, "Oh, get out of here, you jerk." They were just like, "Sorry, brother, we're not going to take the chance."
Yeah, in August I was down in Nevada, and I was going to make a purchase. I was going to have it transferred from Nevada to my FFL in Michigan. And he says, Yeah, we can. Well, wait, are you from California? I said, no, I'm from Michigan. He goes, yeah, we can do that. I'm like, whoa, it's already, you know, because they probably have some sort of reciprocity type thing in that sense with California to make sure people can't go across the border and bring back, you know, whatever.
Yep. And the thing is, none of these laws work. None, not one. They're all junk. You know, these people will do everything they can to do an end run around the Constitution. You know, for instance, there, and I didn't print out the story of it, but I read about it. There's a prosecutor somewhere, I'm sure one of you guys know, who wants to extend the extreme risk protection orders, the so-called red flag laws, to include juveniles, so that they can then say they have a juvenile that's involved with the court or that's acting crazy. Well, then they can go in and take the parents' weapons because they want to put this on the kid.
In Maryland, you can, and it says it right in the statute. It doesn't matter if you're a minor or not. You can have a red flag law written against you. In Washington State right now, I haven't looked into it too much. I've just heard scuttlebutt about it. But apparently there's a minor who's been charged with a crime. I'm not too sure if it's a violent crime or what. And the father, they want to do a red flag against the kid who doesn't own any firearms, but the dad does.
Yeah.
So the kid lives in the dad's house. They want to take the father's firearms because the kid got in trouble.
Yep, that's it. Crazy. They will stop at nothing to try and chip a little bit here and a little bit there and do whatever they can to infringe upon your rights and reduce it until we have nothing left. Even though it doesn't work.
This is all your fault.
And even though it doesn't work, there's a study. Universal background checks in California did not reduce homicides. A UC Davis study examining the first 10 years after California adopted universal background checks shows that those checks did not reduce homicides. In other words, the very checks that the Democrat Party pushes on the national level, the checks that Senator Chris Murphy describes as the gun control North Star, already exist in California, and they did nothing to reduce homicides during the time frame studied. Town Hall reported that the study was conducted by UC Davis's Violence Prevention Research Program and the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. The study found that no net difference between firearm-related homicide rates before and during the 10 years after policy implementation. Researchers admitted that the findings of their study disagree with those of studies associating comprehensive background check policies with a reduction in firearm homicide and suicide in Connecticut and an increase in firearm homicide and suicide after comprehensive background check repeal in Missouri. The study also looked at the impact of misdemeanor violence prohibition policies, which were put in place in 1991. They found firearm suicides to be 10.9% lower than expected 10 years later, but this was balanced out by the fact that non-firearm related suicides fell by a similar percent. This would indicate something other than firearms as the driving force behind the suicides. So there you have it. They don't work. They know they don't work, and they don't care because gun control has never been about safety. Gun control has never been about the gun. It has always been about control, and it always will be. From its racist roots in the post-Civil War era South till today, it's all about control of the population, nothing about the guns or safety or anything else, because they don't give a damn about that. Speaking of wanting to do anything they can, there is a crazy man. Landlord tells Harvard student to move out over legally owned guns. And this is a piece from it's by Stephen Gutowski from November 30th, 2018. Roommate searched room for guns after finding MAGA hat. Massachusetts landlord told a Harvard University graduate student that he wanted her to move out of her apartment because her legally owned firearms made some of her roommates uncomfortable. Since it's clear that Layla wants to keep her firearms, it would be best for all parties if she finds another place to live. Dave Lewis.
Whoa. Back up. Did they say that they illegally searched her belongings?
Her roommates searched her belongings after they found that she had a Make America Great Again hat. Yes.
So they violated her right to privacy and then are telling her she has to find somewhere else to live because she is a law-abiding citizen.
Yes. That's exactly it.
I don't know if you know, but there are laws against that kind of thing, and she could take them to court and wipe them out.
Legal. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Well, Dave Lewis, president of Average Management, said in an email to the household obtained by the Washington Free Beacon that since she wants to keep her firearms, it would be best if she leaves. The request that the student, Layla Perney, moved out came after her roommate searched her room while she was not home and found her firearms. That prompted one of the roommates to email Lewis requesting he verify that Perney was in compliance with applicable firearms laws. We discussed with Layla that all of us are uncomfortable with having firearms in the house and that their presence causes anxiety and deprives us of the quiet enjoyment of the premise to which we are entitled, the roommate wrote to Lewis. Perney said she feels her roommates violated her privacy and now they and her landlord are trying to violate her rights. A few weeks ago, I came back to my apartment from a weekend trip and was confronted by one of my roommates who asked if I had guns in the house, she told the Free Beacon. After being told far too many lies to count, my roommates finally admitted that they searched my closet, under my bed, and all of my drawers in pursuit of finding my guns. While she was given several different explanations for why the roommates entered and searched her room, the 24-year-old said that she felt her political beliefs and where she is from played a significant role in the roommates' actions. When I asked them why they were in my room to begin with, they each came up with completely contradicting stories, none of which made any sense. But one comment struck me in particular. We saw that you had a MAGA hat, and come on, you're from Alabama. So we just kind of assumed that you had something, she said. I asked why they didn't just call me and ask me before intruding. One of the girls responded that fear took over her body, and she felt compelled to search my room until she found proof.
No, they wanted to pry. They wanted to pry, and whether I'm sorry, but state law does not trump illegally breaking and entering, because that's what this is.
Nobody cares about the law. The politicians don't care about the law. Lawyers don't care about the law. Judges don't care about the law.
Violating your rights.
Only the people that are probably in this chat room and on this panel and the people that we talk to on a regular basis care about the law. Donald Trump doesn't care about the law. None of the governors care about the law. The law is irrelevant to anybody that's not us.
John Brown says they profiled her.
It's getting harder and harder to have an opinion. It's getting harder and harder to speak your mind. It's getting harder and harder to be who you are, and you're not doing any harm to anybody else because of what can happen to you. You could lose your job, you could get kicked out of your house, or you could be shunned by your family. It's sad.
This gets better. In response, Perney said she'd been living in the apartment since September without incident, and she kept her political beliefs to herself before the incident. But she did have a Make America Great Again hat in her room. In response to the email from Perney's roommate, Lewis, who's the landlord, contacted Captain James Donovan of the Somerville Police Department to inspect Perney's firearms and ensure that they were in compliance with Massachusetts law. Now, here's what I think is crazy. Perney agreed to allowing the police to inspect her firearms and said she was told she is in compliance with all applicable laws. I would have never allowed it.
No,
you also run the risk that they are looking at them and they really don't even know what the laws are or don't know what they're looking at.
Lewis acknowledged the department's conclusion that Perney was not breaking any gun laws in his email telling Perney to move out. So that he called the law, which he had absolutely no business doing. She agreed to it, which I wouldn't have done. They inspected her firearms, found out there's absolutely nothing wrong. She's following all the laws, but the dude's still telling her to move out. Captain Donovan told the Free Beacon that he could not comment publicly on the matter. Dave Lewis and the roommate who emailed him did not respond to repeated requests for comment. Perney said the roommates confronted her about her firearms, and she explained to them that she was a legal gun owner who is trained in the safe handling of firearms. She said the roommates weren't concerned with Perney's handling of the guns, but rather that somebody might break in and turn the guns on them, or the guns might go off on their own. Oh my, you really? The stupidest.
It's because they don't understand. They don't understand.
They don't want to understand. They want to live in their imaginary world where there's only unicorns, rainbows, and teddy bears.
Yeah, you're right about that.
That's not how the world is.
They don't want to understand. You're right.
Stealth Hunter points out that she set them up to be sued. Well, yeah, you're probably right. That's probably exactly why she allowed them to come in so that they could find that she was within compliance, and yet they still wanted to kick her out. Yeah, you're right. That was probably a very smart move.
They were going to kick her out regardless the minute they found that hat. That's how crazy the left is. If you think I'm exaggerating, I'm really not. Look at how they're behaving.
Yeah.
I do have to admit that last night I had to go wrangle up all my firearms from the backyard. They all went out without me and started doing target practice.
She said her landlord's concern over some of her roommates being uncomfortable with legally owned firearms is misplaced, and his request that she move out is inappropriate. What I find uncomfortable is coming home to find out that 6 people I barely know went into my bedroom without permission and went through every single one of my drawers without any regard to my privacy whatsoever, Perney said. My landlord's email, though carefully crafted, showed tremendous prejudice against my right to legally have firearms. Perney said her motivations for owning firearms have been ignored, even though she shared them with her roommates. While an undergrad, she said she was in a physically abusive relationship. She said the experience is part of what drives her to be armed. Nobody has bothered to question, well, why do you want to have protection? Could it be because you've experienced something where you need to protect yourself as you see fit? She said, I have a real and legitimate reason as to why I want to protect myself. When Perney and her father rejected Lewis's request that she move out in the middle of studying for finals, Lewis responded by saying his request was based strictly on practical and not ideological terms. He then warned her that if the other roommates moved out, Perney would have to pay their rent. If the other roommates were to move out, Layla would need to find roommates to share the place or foot the entire $6,000 plus monthly rent herself, Lewis wrote in an email to Perney. Obviously, it would be much easier for the others to stay and just fill one room, and I'm confident, were this to happen, that the remaining housemates will release Layla from any further responsibility under the lease, and that's why I proposed what I did. Perney feels she's being punished for being a gun owner. I'm still very much so being threatened out of my apartment, she said. Either I leave and incur moving expenses, or my roommates move and I incur their rent expenses. Doesn't seem right. Not only is this a blatant violation of my privacy, but it's also a violation of my rights. And I agree.
Actually, Budget, there's also another thing, a caveat to this. However the lease is done, it could also be a violation of lease laws as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
I would move.
What do you think? Like, you think that their end goal is the end manufacturing? Obviously, the military and the police are going to need firearms, so they'll have to have a United States government company build guns.
Ultimately, I think that their goal is to end civilian ownership of all firearms.
What they want is the government to make its own guns again. That's
what I'm getting at, because there's a couple people that have mentioned in the chat about the black market. And the black market, well, you're going to have a black market if, say, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, M&P, whatever, they're still producing firearms. But if it's, the United States government, produces this gun and only the military gets it, only the government gets it, and then only the criminals that the government gives guns to are going to have guns.
Yeah, well, I find it interesting that in these laws they always put there's exemptions for military and police, and I'm thinking you have no jurisdiction over the United States military. So they're going to have guns and tanks and aircraft and all, so
you can walk into a gun store in Maryland and there's these beautiful, not every gun store, but there's these beautiful little shelf that's just full of 30-round magazines, and it looks so wonderful, and they're always on sale, and then there's a giant red sign that says law enforcement only.
Yeah,
right in a public gun store. Why are cops buying?
And I can't, I don't read whatever language the name is written in, but the icon is looks like a little circle, white, red, and circle with a red star in it. Asks, what's your opinion on leftist gun groups like the Socialist Rifle Association? I'm all for anybody having the means with which to defend themselves. I have no problem with it. I see. Unlike the typical leftist, I'm okay with somebody having whatever they want until they act in a manner that says that they shouldn't have it. Well, basically, it's not a problem until it becomes a problem.
Calaveras makes a pretty good point out in the chat, and I complain a lot about Maryland, and I've got it way better than he does out in California. But he said Gavin Newsom here in California stated publicly that he would like to see cops and military bases be included in disarmament. And I mean, if you know anything about Gavin Newsom, that's definitely something that he would say.
Well, he's barking mad.
That's harsh.
I mean, this is smearing waste on the walls crazy. Kind of like the Oakland University. From the Detroit News, Oakland University to fight shooters with hockey pucks. It's a potential face-off between bullets and thousands of hockey pucks at Oakland University. The Rochester Hills and Auburn Hills University began equipping its faculty and some students with hockey pucks this month as a last resort precaution to throw at any active shooters on campus, officials say. Oakland University Police Chief Mark Gordon said the idea emerged during a training session he was giving earlier this year on surviving an active shooter situation. Gordon, a former youth hockey coach, said since the university has an ordinance against weapons, one attendee asked what staff and students could bring to prepare themselves for a fight. He recalled once being struck in the head with a puck and said it caused a fair amount of damage to me. Well, yeah, that's pretty obvious. Oakland University began equipping its faculty and some students with hockey pucks this month as a last resort precaution in event of an active shooter on campus.
I played ice hockey for a while, and I played a lot of street hockey, and I've been hit with a frozen ice hockey puck from somebody who knew how to shoot a puck really good. It hurts a whole lot.
Sure.
I'd rather get hit with a million hockey pucks than a 22 long rifle.
Exactly. That's the whole point. You know, these stopgap weapons like the little mini baseball bats that the one school system wanted to give their teachers, or the infamous bucket of rocks. Come on, man. Seriously?
Well, I can speak on this one for sure because this one is right in my backyard.
Go for it.
So Oakland University is a college. It says Auburn Hills and Rochester Hills. Half of it is in one city and the other half is in the other city.
Okay.
Auburn Hills and Rochester Hills are fairly well-to-do communities. A lot of money, nice amenities, and lots of R&D and factories there. A lot of automotive engineering, a lot of people with six-figure salaries. Oakland University is known for cranking out tons of automotive engineers in addition to other trades or skills or whatever. I have worked with people who were full-time students at Oakland University. The automotive company that I used to work at was literally across the street, and we had a lot of interns that were going to college full-time and learning to be automotive engineers at our location. And I can tell you that these people are about as left as you can get.
Had a lot of interns?
Oh yeah, we had a lot of interns.
Bill Clinton have a house nearby?
Yeah, not those sort of interns. The interns that get paid more money than an assembly line worker while they're getting their college degree.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. So a lot of hardcore left wingers over there, and the college itself. It said in the article that the college police department was the one that was doing the training, and I kind of breathed a sigh of relief because I can't see the Auburn Hills Police Department doing this. I've gone through active threat training with the Auburn Hills Police Department, and I cannot see them saying, "Here, have a hockey puck." But the college cops, I could see that. I could see that for sure. Now, I will tell you that in the article, they were talking about the drill where they have the people throw the rubber balls at the shooter. So what they do is they give the shooter a blue gun. They point, bang, point, bang, like that. And
Yeah.
bang means they hit you. Now, you're at close range. You're at really close range. They give 4 people a soft ball, like a Nerf-type ball or a rubber ball that they can throw. If they can throw and hit the shooter before the shooter points a gun at him and says bang, then they've proven the whole run, hide, fight thing, where you pick up any object, because what they would tell us is grab a fire extinguisher, grab a stapler, grab a hole punch, grab the printer or the monitor off your desk and throw it at this person, right? If you have to fight.
It's funny. This is the exact same active shooter bullshit training we went through where I work. Yes.
Well, let me tell you what happened at my work in one of the training sessions. They gave the blue gun to a CPL holder. And her response to the cop was, "Oh, it's not a Walther?" So the cop was a little bit stunned that she actually knew the difference between a blue Glock and a Walther. And the 4 people lined up, and they threw, and she got 3 of them before the 4th person hit her. And it kind of blew, just totally kind of trashed the training that day. Now, nobody else that they did that with in any of the other training sessions was able to do that because they had no skills with guns. This person she was a very nice person, but she was conservative, and she wasn't opposed to speaking her mind. She never made any threats or did anything, but I worked with a lot of liberals, and they really just didn't like her because she thought differently. When they let her go, and they didn't let her go for any good reason other than people didn't like her. They had 2 Auburn Hills squad cars sitting out front, waiting for her to finish her exit interview so they could walk her out the door just in case she's a threat because she's the one with the gun. They actually had me and my boss sitting, acting like we're having coffee in one of the little lounge areas outside the conference room where they're having her exit interview so I could be there to take her down just in case something happened. And I'm like, I know her. She's not a threat. This is ridiculous. The cops actually came into the lobby and said, is this going to take long? Because we've been waiting outside a long time. Right? They were getting impatient. They walked her out of the building. She gave everybody a goodbye hug and never came back in the building again and was never a threat. But, you know, we're the ones with the guns. We're the ones with the guns, so we're a threat.
Green Badger Outdoors says, you know what works better for surviving an active shooter? Shooting back. Yeah, I agree.
But over at Oakland University, they're not going to allow that. The people there, the people over at Oakland University are not going to they're not about to allow guns over there. And the kind of people that go there, I mean, even though some of their parents are blue collar assembly line workers who have dads and moms that go hunting every year and stuff like that, even though the Second Amendment is not about hunting, they're totally anti-gun, and these college professors fill them full of that. And then you have these companies that are right across the street from the college where these kids go to work at, where they don't want to hear anybody who has a conservative voice, and they don't want to have any guns around. And I was in a meeting, a security meeting with Human Resources, the Auburn Hills Police Department, all that, and they were saying, well, we'll put a sign on the door, and that'll stop them. And it's like, no, it won't. And then they said, well, if somebody has one of these concealed licenses and brings a gun to work, we'll just have the police come over here and arrest them. And I said, you can't do that. And she goes, oh, why not? And the cop just hangs his head and he looks down at the table and he goes, he's right. We can't. They're not breaking the law. They might be breaking your company policy and you can fire them, but we can't arrest them because it's not illegal to conceal carry at work in Michigan. And the HR manager was furious that she couldn't have somebody arrested for having a gun. These are the kind of people that come across the street from Oakland University and get all this brainwashing about what the laws are and about the kind of people that have guns and how dangerous they are. And then you got the police that are stuck in the middle, and you know, they're just trying to do their jobs.
Yep. Well, it's 7:59, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the last segment. What is Roll Call's favorite segment of the show, the self-defense shoutouts. For those of you who are new to the show or who have not stuck around yet to the end, self-defense shoutouts are not me reveling in and celebrating the death or injury of any human being, even the bad guy. This is me reveling in and celebrating the continued life and health of the good guy and the fact that they had the means, method, and opportunity to defend themselves. First up, from let's see, this is from where from South Carolina, Georgetown, a press release from the Georgetown Police Department from November 24th. Press release: update on carjacking. At approximately 8:30 p.m. last night, a black male driving a black Nissan Maxima went to a Boost Mobile located on Bush River Road in Columbia, South Carolina, and attempted to rob the clerk at gunpoint. The suspect was dressed as a woman and wearing a wig. The clerk then pulled out a handgun and shot the suspect. A gunfight ensued between the clerk and the suspect. The suspect exited the store and drove the Nissan Maxima down the street to a Sunoco gas station, where he was picked up by a black female identified as Nautica Morgan, who was driving the stolen white Chevrolet Tahoe. Morgan took the black male to Richland Memorial Hospital in Richland County, where he was treated for gunshot wounds to the stomach and is in stable condition. The black male has been identified as Demetrius. Both vehicles have been recovered by the Richland County Sheriff's Office. Arrest warrants will be obtained on both suspects for carjacking. The investigation continues, and more information will be released as it becomes available.
So is the clerk going to get charged with a hate crime then?
Oh yeah. Not only is
You see how I put that spin on it?
No, they only people only.
Yeah.
Where is this? Is this in South Carolina?
Yeah, Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, Columbia. Okay, normally you don't get charged for a hate crime unless they have their backs turned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're unarmed.
That's what the defense will be like. But he was dressed like a woman, and we have to believe all women. So
he also had a gun on him. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Oh, those are technicalities.
Next one from Tulsa, Oklahoma. TPD. Homeowner shoots, kills intruder in Midtown Tulsa. From KTUL. A South Tulsa man had to make a quick decision after a man broke into his home this morning. This is from, when is this from? I don't have the date. It was from earlier this week. Actually, it was last weekend. Charles Sweeney says he was simply defending his home. He's had to do so before, and he won't hesitate to do it again. There was a big commotion in the bathroom, and I was like, someone's breaking in, said Sweeney. It was a frightening sound for anyone to wake up to, but not when you're Charles Sweeney. I only had to wait 3 or 4 seconds for him to come into view, and I shot him, said Sweeney, with his 9mm pistol he keeps by his bed. Shooting the intruder, identified as Donald Stovall, a second time when he turned to run. He just said, I'm sorry, and retreated to the bathroom and collapsed, said Sweeney. Tulsa police showed up soon after to the home off South Columbia Avenue. Detectives say Stovall died inside the home. The guy was breaking into his house. He obviously wasn't invited. You never know what someone is doing if they're breaking into your home, said Sergeant Brandon Watkins, which is why Watkins has right to defend himself. If someone breaks into your home, you can assume they're up to no good, said Watkins. I didn't know if he had a gun. I didn't know if he had some other sort of weapon. I didn't know what his true intentions were. I'm not a psychic, said Sweeney, just like an incident 5 years ago when he says he shot an intruder 6 times after breaking in. He spent 11 days in St. John and 2 years in prison, said Sweeney. As for today, police questioned Sweeney downtown before releasing him. They told me I was going home after the interview, and I did. Living at the home for more than 60 years, he's had to defend it twice. He was here for evil intentions, and I put a stop to that, said Sweeney. Neighbors tell us the home has been run down for years. Some even believe it was vacant. Sweeney simply says he's been sick lately and hasn't been able to keep it up. So, good for him. Not good that the poor guy had to shoot somebody twice and killed this last one, but good for him that he's able to continue living his life and doing the business that he does. And last but certainly not least, no charges after suspected intruder killed by resident. This is from November 27th. This is in River City News. This is from Kentucky. A man who shot and killed another man accused of entering his Covington home won't face charges, police said Tuesday. 2 other suspects are still on the loose, however. Covington police responded to 305 West 7th Street in Mainstrasse Village at around 1:30 a.m. Tuesday after receiving a call about with shots fired. Officers found a man lying on the ground outside the home with a gunshot wound to his chest. The man was later identified as Joshua Kersey, 43, of Cincinnati. Kersey died at University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Police said that Kersey was armed with guns. According to the investigation, details of which were released by Covington police, Kersey and 2 others entered the home on 7th Street, armed and dressed in dark clothing and wearing ski masks. The suspects used those guns to threaten residents Floyd Gilley Sr., 54, and his wife, Darlene Gilley, 48, and demanded to know the whereabouts of someone else who had not lived at the residence in a number of years, police said. After hearing the disturbance, Floyd Gilley Jr., 24, retrieved his handgun from an upstairs bedroom. Kersey, police said, was likely shot while advancing towards Gilley Jr.'s bedroom. After the gunfire, all 3 suspects fled from the home, with Kersey collapsing outside. The 2 other suspects got away, and because of their masks and dark clothing, the only descriptions police could gather are that the men were around 6 feet tall. Meanwhile, Kenton County Commonwealth's attorney Rob Sanders said that he would not bring any charges against Gilley Jr. Mr. Gilley was justifiably in fear for his safety and the safety of his parents, Sanders said, so deadly force in defense of their home. Sanders, in a news release, said simple self-defense law is enough to justify the shooting, and that Kentucky's castle law doctrine means that Gilley Jr. is presumed to be in reasonable fear for his life when defending his home. This wasn't a close call. It was clearly justified, said Sanders. Covington Police Chief Rob Nader said it is important for neighbors to know this was not a random act and that the ordinarily quiet neighborhood is still safe. The bad guys were looking for a specific person, said Nader, but their information was outdated or just plain wrong. Nader said detectives have now set their sights on identifying Kersey's co-conspirators. There's still 2 very dangerous men on the loose who committed a violent home invasion burglary and got Mr. Kersey killed in the process. Nader requested the public's assistance in identifying the other suspects. Someone knows who these men are. Someone knows the scene. Someone knows where they went to hide out. All we need we need that someone to come forward with the information so there's accountability for this crime. So there you go. 3 cases in which an armed citizen had the means, method, and opportunity to defend themselves from the criminal aggression of someone else. And that's the way it should be, folks.
Well, once again, if I could interject really, really fast.
Sure.
Watch Maryland, because we don't have that option in Maryland. We have to run. And any chance, even if we get into a...
even in your own home?
Even in your own home, if you can still run, you have that option. You have to try that. You have to do what you can to run or flee or whatever the term is. So even if somebody comes in my room and I wrestle with them and I can get away, then I've got to get away. If I pull my firearm and I say stop, 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 and they stop and walk away and go to a different room, I can't follow them up and, force them out of my house with my firearm. Once again, pay attention to your state laws.
Absolutely. And on that note, well, I guess that's what you have to leave us with. Do you have anything you want to plug, Kingpin?
Yeah, sure. I got a giveaway that I'm doing right now, so everybody go check that out. And then before the end of the year, I'm going to do another giveaway that's going to be a GunTube exclusive. The only place I'm going to put the video, the only way you can win is you got to go to GunTube and watch. And then I'm probably this weekend, maybe next weekend, I'm going to start doing my Firearms Inventors playing card deck stuff that I'm going to, study out some of the extra stuff that G-Webs didn't put on his website, so maybe go a little bit further into detail about some of the firearms inventors in the deck. Obviously, I'm not going to do it as good as G-Webs, but it's something.
All right, sounds good. Night Strike, anything you want to plug? Like this little GunTube thing?
Yeah, check out guntube.org. I am going to start a crowdfunding campaign for GunTube because I don't have enough money to literally compete with anybody else right now. I don't have enough hardware. I need hardware. I can make a list of what hardware I need, and if anybody wants to buy that hardware, and send it to me, that'd be cool too. It's just I don't have enough hardware to get to where I need GunTube to be. So that's why I was looking at possibly doing a crowdfunding campaign for it, because I really want GunTube to take off and work well. It's just remember how you mentioned Bloomberg? I don't want a corporate entity to take over and pervert the message. Okay?
Yep.
And that's really hard to do when they're the ones with all the cash.
So you're not going to sell it to the NRA or something?
No.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. Help it out. At the very least, do what I do and funnel a couple bucks through a Patreon to GunTube, Squib, anything you'd like to leave us with, sir?
Thanks for the invite. Glad the show's winding down. I got to get back to work.
All right.
Everybody have a good weekend.
All righty. You do the same, sir. And on that note, I just want to thank everybody for sticking around to the end of the chat. As I say at the beginning, I'm amazed that so many people want to hear anything that I have to say, and I think it's great to have this dialogue and conversation with you guys. So thank you very much. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. And on that note, remember, as I always do say, particularly in these trying times, Keep in contact with your elected representatives and Congress critters. Hold their feet to the fire. Let them know what you think about these ridiculous gun laws and regulations and everything coming through. You know, telephone, telegraph, carrier, pigeon, smoke signals, anything you have to do, let them know, and never, ever, ever give up the fight.